Look at the numbers on your screen. In the next few minutes, dozens of lives will be lost. In Rwanda, in 1994, this figure was not a mathematical projection. It was a reality that occurred every minute, every hour, for 100 consecutive days. Statistically, this genocide was the most efficient mass killing in modern history, not because of advanced military technology, but because of its speed. 800,000 lives in 100 days. That means 8,000 deaths per day, 333 per hour. 5 lives every single minute. If you watch this video to the end, statistically, dozens of people would already have died. We often hear the number 800,000, but we rarely talk about the horror behind the speed of that number. How can a country transform into a killing machine so quickly? The answer lies in demographic data. Since the colonial era, Rwanda had been administratively divided. The 1991 census showed a stark composition: 84% Hutu, 15% Tutsi, and 1% Twa. But these figures were not merely social statistics. The government at the time required every citizen to carry an ethnic identity card. At roadblocks, the number 15%, the Tutsi minority, ceased to be just demographic data and became a target list. In the wrong hands, data is no longer informative. It becomes a deadly logistical weapon. Population statistics that should have been used to build a nation were instead used to dismantle it. Many people assume genocide requires sophisticated weapons of mass destruction. Yet trade data tells a simpler, more terrifying story. In 1993 alone, machete imports into Rwanda surged dramatically, reaching levels that made little sense for a small agrarian country. According to Human Rights Watch records, more than 580,000 machetes entered Rwanda during the preparation period. On average, this was enough to arm 1 out of every 3 adult men. What stands out statistically is not where these tools came from, since machetes are a legal global commodity, but how they were systematically distributed as instruments of slaughter. The import data stands as silent evidence that what happened in Rwanda was not a spontaneous explosion of anger, but a tragedy logistically prepared in advance. This tragedy has a long statistical tail. When the violence subsided, the death toll did not stop, it simply changed form. 2 million people fled across borders within weeks, creating one of the fastest refugee crises in history. In the refugee camps of Goma, mortality peaked not because of bullets, but because of cholera. At its height, the disease killed 1 person every minute. Here we see the dark side of humanitarian statistics, how logistical failure after war can be as deadly as the war itself. The figure of 800,000 begins to swell when we include those who died in flight. How do you prosecute 1 million perpetrators in a country whose legal system has collapsed? If Rwanda had relied solely on conventional courts, data suggests it would have taken more than 100 years to resolve all cases. So they created the Gacaca system. The statistics are extraordinary. More than 1.2 million cases were processed in 10 years. In addition, look at their parliament today. More than 60% of its seats are held by women, the highest proportion in the world. Why? Because statistics show that the genocide wiped out a large portion of the male population. Rwanda's current political transformation is a direct result of the demographic void left by the 1994 tragedy. In the end, statistics are how we attempt to comprehend the incomprehensible. We use the number 800,000 so we do not drown in infinite individual grief. But we must remember, for those who were there, this was not about the number 800,000. It was about the number one. One mother, one child, one neighbor. Every unit in this statistic is a shattered universe. We study this data not to become numb, but to recognize the patterns before the numbers begin moving again somewhere else. So don't let these numbers fade into abstraction. Learn the warning signs. Question narratives that divide people into categories. Challenge rhetoric that turns identity into a weapon. Share the story. Talk about it. Teach it. Because remembrance is not passive, awareness is not neutral, and prevention begins long before the numbers start rising.